Okay, let's continue. Let's continue with our lectures. I hope the noise is not so bad now. Let's continue with the same topic, system vulnerability and abuse, and we're going to talk about computer crime. So, computer crime defined as any violation of criminal law that involve a knowledge of computer technology for their perpetration, investigation, or prosecution. So that is the definition given for computer crime. Computer may be target of crime, for example, breaching confidentiality of protected computerized data, accessing a computer system without authority, or what we call illegal access or unauthorized access. So all this, if it happens, it will be considered as a computer crime. Next, computer may be instrument of crime. So the earlier case, the computer may be target of crime, but now they use it as an instrument of crime. For example, theft or trade secret, using email for threats or harassment. Nowadays, there are a lot of call centers. I'm very sure you are aware of such call centers, either in your country or globally, where they use computers or any related devices, tablets, iPads, and so on, or even smartphone, to carry out some crime activities, or we call it cyber crime activities, including where they use email, social media platform for threatenings or harassment, any kind of cyber wars, cyber crimes that happening over the internet. We consider that as a computer crime. Some of other activities that are known as computer crimes are such as identity theft. It is a kind of activity or crime where what they do is basically they are the theft of the internet, where they steal your personal information. For example, your social security ID or your IC number, identification number, driving license, credit card numbers, to impersonate or behave like someone else. This is a very common activity that is happening today, where they will call you and then they will identify themselves as so and so, and then they will expect for your response with the intention of carrying out some kind or related computer crime. The other activity is known as phishing, by setting up a fake website or sending email messages that look like legitimate businesses to ask users for confidential personal data. This is very common in a banking industry. That is the reason why when you log in into any online banking facilities or software, the first information that will pops up is be aware of phishing activities or alert. Reason this is where the hacker or the unauthorized access will try to redirect you, or by sending an email and then expecting you to click that link. So when you click that link, it takes you to a business site, exactly looks like the one that you are interested to do business with, but actually it is not. It is a fake site. Yeah. The other types of computer crime that which is quite common also is known as evil twins, using wireless network that pretend to offer trustworthy Wi-Fi connection to the internet. But the moment you get connected to this kind of Wi-Fi connection, actually you will be redirected, or you will be requested for a lot of personal information or business information, which goes to a wrong hand, and then they will start using it for the wrong purpose. So we as a user, we as a business users, as a corporate user, we have to be alert all the time. We have to be very careful, yeah, at all time, to make sure none of this computer crime is taking place, or you become the victim of these computer crime activities. Moving on the same topic, like what I mentioned earlier, there is a long list of computer crime or activities that available today, that is happening today, that is causing a lot of damages, a lot of unauthorized access, a lot of loss to the businesses. The next in the list is what we call pharming, redirect users to a bogus website or web page, even when individual types correct web page address into his or her browser. So this is quite dangerous, yeah, quite dangerous. Even if you type the correct one, it redirects you. The software is smart enough, powerful enough to redirect you to somewhere else, to a bogus website, and then everything else will go wrong from there. So it's very difficult to know whether we are doing the right things or wrong, but the antivirus software or the firewall software is designed to detect and to correct and to prevent this kind of activities. Click fraud is another type of event or activities which is also comes under the computer crime list, which occurs when individual or computer program fraudulently click on online ad. Yeah, this is more to the ads, without any intention of learning more about the advertiser or making a purchase. So this is what we call click fraud, especially when you see ads on the internet. The main target is Facebook, yeah, and sometimes other popular websites where they normally put these ads for expecting the user, the public, the business people to click onto these ads. But after that, what happened after the click is all illegal or unexpected events or activities, or even damages, yeah, is what we can expect. So this is another type of computer crime uh, on the list. Next on the list is cyber terrorism and cyber warfare, which is very common and is happening, yeah, at present, is giving many global challenges to many countries, to many governments, to many organizations, which cyber ransom also can be considered part of it, where it has happened many years ago and is continued to happen today, where many websites, many corporations are being the target for ransom. So you can find a lot of information or latest information or latest cyber warfare or terrorism over the internet, over the news, over some white papers over the internet. So please go through. Some would be very interesting for you to know. some will be very useful for you to consider to discuss or to consider for your assessment. Next, there is a one interactive session which is belong to or related to StarkNet and changing face of cyber warfare. I'm not going to go through this with you here, but I'm going to leave it to you to look at it and to bring it up or to discuss with your colleague or friends during the open discussion sessions, where this case is very much related to warfare. Okay, so please go through this and it will be helpful for you to prepare yourself better. So with that, I'm going to move on under the same topic, system vulnerability and abuse, on some internal threat to employees. Yeah, some internal threat to employees, to all, not necessarily IT employees, but to all. One of the internal threat that any employee or all the employees that can face or, uh, or, or will be going through or have experienced is what we call software threat often originate inside an organization, which is known as the internal threat. Normally this will happen or take place only by someone who has some inside knowledge. Could be within from the company or can be from the ex-employer. Those who have resigned, there will be some unhappy employers. They might want to do some revenge, some kind of revenge or payback. So they might be doing this. Internal threat also due to sloppy security procedures or the user lack of knowledge. So there are some what we call vulnerabilities or limitation or weaknesses within the system. So it encourages some kind of internal threats by employees or by the ex-employees or over the rest of the employees. It can be vice versa, two ways. And also could be due to social engineering, tricking employee or other employees into revealing their personal password by pretending to be legitimate members of a company in need of information. So they can always pretend to be someone and call you and asking you for the login ID and password, for example. And when you ended up giving them this personal information or important information, then they will use this information for to gain their purpose. All right. So with that, let me move on to an area where we're going to call it software vulnerabilities, still under the system vulnerability and abuse, but specifically we're going to look into software vulnerabilities. What are the weaknesses within the software that is available within a company or corporate firms? It could be commercial software, or it could be third-party software or standalone software, but all the software can have some kind of vulnerabilities that we need to look at. We need to spend some time, study those software, investigate those software, monitor those software and look at what the softwares are really functioning as expected, or there are some built-in or what we call hidden bugs. Hidden bugs are actually program code defect written purposely by the creator of the software to give some kind of effects or impact when the users start using it. Zero defect cannot be achieved from any software because complete testing is not possible with large program. As just for your knowledge, Testing is not that easy. Testing has many levels, many categories, many people need to get involved, and it can happen over a long period of time. So it is very difficult to get a zero defect from any software. So, and also complete taking many resources and over a long period of time in order to do a complete testing. Due to that, sometimes some corporate firms or some companies will try to cut short in order to meet the deadline or the target. So that's where we will find more defect or more errors, more hidden bugs toward the end of the implementation or toward the end of the project compared to the beginning of the project or starting of the project or during the progress stages of the progress or project. So this kind of flaws can open network to the hackers or to the intruders to attack or to access illegally to your system. The other software vulnerability which is quite popular is due to outdated patches. So what is patches? It is a small piece of software to repair flaws. Yeah, to repair flaws. But when we don't install or when we don't apply all these patches, by the time it's supposed to be installed or supposed to be available, then it can open up gap, yeah, or illegal access to the people outside or to the hackers. All right, so patches are very important, and normally there will be a proper guidance or instruction from the software vendor. What are the patches are available? For example, window patches, Windows Server patches, Unix patches, any software patches that you need to install continuously even to your handphone. Whenever there is an update, you make sure you install all those updates, because some of these updates could be very important update to protect some viruses or malware or even spyware, so that things don't go wrong. So please pay attention and be serious when there is announcement that you need to update your software. Uh, Definitely you need to make sure, or you need to check the source, make sure it is from the right source, make sure it is original, real updates that your device or your computer system really need those patches. And then after verifying, please go ahead and do the update in order to prevent software vulnerabilities in your system. The next topic that we're going to discuss is business value of security and control. Business value of security and control. Failed computer system can lead to significant or total loss of business function. So all of us are very aware and have heard about this many times, and this is a big risk to the business. Failed computer system can lead to significant or total loss of business function, and we used to see this in a government department. Whenever you go to certain government department, they will put up a notice saying that system down or system failure, and the whole operation will be down. There is no other option to carry out your activities or your intention activities or plan for the day due to the system or the computer system is down. So it shows how dependent are the business or the government department to that particular system or computer systems. And if the computer system is down, it can lead to significant or total loss of business function. And normally how we measure the downtime is by hourly. And as far as the IT team is concerned, they are actually aware of what will be the loss or total loss if the system is down for an hour, for example, and if it continues, what will be the cost for the second hour, third hours, and so on. So normally there will be a lot of pressures from the management to bring up the system as fast as possible so that they don't continue with the loss of a business function, because it is all business, it's all revenue. Every minute and every hour is a business and revenue for the company. So just imagine, for example, an airline ticketing system is down for half an hour or 1 hour. So you can imagine, yeah, what kind of loss or business loss is for the company. So the same goes to banking, manufacturing, and so on. And all these businesses, the management team and the technical team is aware of the value of or the cost of downtime whenever the system goes down. Firms now are more vulnerable than ever. We discussed this from many previous sessions where we discussed such as the IT investment for many corporate firms in today's is increasing, keep on increasing. That is a good news, and the reason is where they spend more and more money onto the security, onto the protection of the confidential, either it is personal or financial data, so that there is no loss to the revenue or business. Also, more firms are now investing more money onto IT to protect their trade secret, new product details or information from accessing or illegally accessed by other people. Also to protect their high level strategies or operational strategies, or even some secret strategies being exposed or being accessed by other companies. Security breach may cut into a firm's market value almost immediately. So this is very important. How important is the security protection for a company? Yeah, because the firm's market value can be cut almost immediately. Inadequate security and control also bring forth issues of liability, right? So the investor will lose trust or confidence in your companies if this continue to happen uh, frequently. So in order to avoid all this, what need to be done is to make sure the protection, yeah, in terms of security and controls are according to the standard for this particular company. Moving on the same topic, legal and regulatory requirements for electronic records management and privacy protection need to be considered. Yeah, need to be considered for all companies, so that this particular business or entity do not run into any issue. So legal and regulatory requirements for electronic records management and privacy protection are being taken care or provided by some of these organization or societies, as you can see here. Yeah, please read through yourself. I'm not going to go into detail. Just for your information, depends on the industry and businesses. There are many different societies or NGOs or organizations are responsible for these areas. As far as electronic evidence are considered, uh, this evidence for white collar crimes often in digital form. Yeah, often, especially when come to white collar crime, often taking place in the digital form rather than in the older ways or traditional method. Data on computers, for example, which is all in digital form, email, instant messages, e-commerce transaction, online transaction, real-time transaction, all these are exposed to white-collar crimes if it is not protected or taken care uh, carefully or efficiently by the IT system. So proper control of data can save time and money when responding to legal discovery requests. So when there is an audit, for example, either annually or half yearly by all these audit firms, uh, feedback from them, requirement highlighted by them, the investment recommended by the management and by this group of people are very important to make sure your company is protected, your company data is protected, information is protected, and all transactions are according to the standard operating procedures, which is not possible for any hackers or crackers or even for illegal access of those assets. So electronic evidence is becoming more and more important for businesses. For example, any kind of approval in today's world, the particular uh, parties, for example, the requester will be requesting all kind of information related to the transaction in the form of electronics. So you may require to send your personal information, business related information, online transaction and so on to the requester. And if all this information and data are not protected in a very uh, proper manner, then it can open, a gap or access for the white collar crimes to come in and to steal this information to meet their purpose. Next, we're going to look at what is computer forensic. Yeah, the term what is computer forensic and what is all about. Basically, computer forensic is a scientific collection, or we can even call as an examination, authentication, preservation, and analysis of data from computer storage media for use as evidence in court of law, include recovery of ambient and hidden data. Yeah, so this is what we call computer forensic. So they do a lot of data collection, they do a lot of authentication, analysis of your data, related data for that particular investigation, mainly from your computer storage. Sometimes they do access to offline data, paper-based data, to be used as a evidence, in court of law. So that is what we call computer forensic, and it is quite a popular field, especially now, where more universities and educational institutions are offering this for the learners to be considered, because as we see more computer crimes, cyber crimes are popping up or it become common, definitely there will be a very high demand for computer forensic and so on. Okay, next, let me continue another couple of slides on what we call information system control. So far we have seen various methods of information security threats, or we call computer crimes and so on. So in the next couple of slides, we're going to look at what are the controls that can be in place in order to overcome or in order to even prevent or to fix the related problems. So information system control can be divided into two main groups. One is known as a manual and automated control, and the other one is known as general and application control. Yeah, so it can be either manual or automated or both, and it is also can be general or very specific application based control. First, look at general control. General control covers or govern design, security, and use of computers program and security of data files in general throughout any organization's information technology infrastructure. So this is more general, yeah? Like sometimes we can also call it general practices or standards or ways of doing things on day-to-day basis, following some instruction, guidelines, practices. So that's what we call general controls. So that things don't go out of hand or unexpected things do not take place. So the business can be conducted or can be run as usual. And this general controls also can be applied to all computerized application. Combination of hardware, software, and manual procedures to create overall control environment. Yeah, combination of hardware, software, and manual procedures to create overall control environment. Okay, let's look at types of general control. There are software control, hardware control, computer operation control, data security control, implementation control, administrative control, and there are many other types of control which can be very specific or general. But what we're going to discuss or look here are general control first. And all these controls are at very high level, at very general control. And in each one of these areas, there is a very specific kind of control that we need to understand, where we need to come out with proper guidelines and SOPs and practices, which can be considered later as a very specific kind of controls instead of general control. So as we understand, IT is very wide. So there are many areas that you need to look into, many areas to consider, uh, which are important for the businesses, which are important for the corporate to conduct their businesses as usual. So normally there will be many, yeah, many policies and procedures available in order to achieve, in order to implement, and to make sure all these controls are in place, yeah, properly. Next, we're going to look at risk assessment in establishing a framework for security and control. So in establishing a proper framework for security and control, one way of doing it is, first we look at the risks. What are the risks available or risk levels available by doing risk assessment. So basically what we are doing by risk assessment is to determine levels of risk to firm if specific activity or process is not properly controlled. There is no proper control, over some activities or some specific activity. Then we need to look into what are the risks available if we do so, such as what types of threat, probability of occurrence during year and during which time, potentially losses or value of threats if it happens, expected annual loss if it happens. So for example, if there is a malware attack or spyware attack for a day or for a two, what will be the loss? What will be the revenue affected? What will be the cost of those? All need to be calculated upfront. So the management is aware of this, either in the form of report or messages or some kind of format where they are aware if one particular threat happens, for example, denial of service, and it prolonged for 1 or 2 days, what is the cost, what is the loss? So all this need to be made available by the IT team by conducting risk assessment. Some of the example that you can see down here is maybe not completely IT related or security related threats or failure, but for example like power failure. If there is a power failure and probability is, let's say, 30%, and what is the loss? Yeah, average loss, like in this case, $5, $5,000 to 200K. uh, Maybe for example, over a year, annual loss, they consider this like an expected annual loss. But if there is no power failure, it is good. But if there is a power failure, this is the what we call expected, yeah, expected loss for the for the company or for the corporate. And there are some other examples that you can look at, yeah, to be considered. Some of the security policy that can consider in order to establish a framework for security and control is such as ranks of information risks, where identify acceptable security goals and identifies mechanism for achieving these goals, such as drive other policies, which is known as a AUP, yeah, acceptable use policy, to as part of security policy. Also authorization policies to determine differing levels of user access to information access. So as far as IT are concerned, there will be many different types of policies available in order to protect information and data within the companies. So not only these two policies, there will be many other policies and practices and standards in order to achieve the objective. Identity management, for example, is another ways of security control that normally some companies will practice, where business processes and tools to identify valid users of system and control access. Yeah, I will not be able to go through all the slides in detail, but these slides will be available or is already available online for you to go through, read some of the slides yourself, and discuss among yourself, so that if you have any further questions, we can always discuss during our second sessions, during the open discussion. There are some other infographic information, such as security profiles for a personal system. Take a look at it, go through it. Some other disaster recovery planning, business continuity planning, BCP, what types of business continuity planning that any corporate or any companies will carry out, just as preparation if anything can go wrong. MIS audit, which you guys are quite familiar with, where they will do this on annual basis or even yearly basis, to make sure that every not only IT, but MIS audit is very specifically to IT, in order to make sure all policies, procedures, documentation, trainings, and peoples with the right skills are in place. Yeah, So there are a couple of slides that I'm going to let all of you to go through on your own and bring it up if there is any questions or any particular details that need to be discussed. But again, for your course, you don't have to go into very much detail, yeah, just for your information if you are interested. Otherwise, run through all these slides and make sure you are at least aware of all these areas, because all of you are managers. Some are in the top management, some are in the middle management, some are in the line management. It's good for you to aware, so that when your staff come and explain things to you, or when you face such a problem, that you know what to talk, what to advise, what kind of plan, what kind of strategies that you need to take or consider in overcoming those issues or problems. So for that purpose, it is good for you to go through all these slides and be aware. Okay, so with that, just a couple of more slides. Yeah, that's the last one. Please